we are going to go into the 45th verse of Atmabodha. And there are some very important concepts for us to handle today. Primary among which is destruction of Jivahood. This is what will be described in the 45th verse. Now, this is something which many times people are even frightened of this concept. What does destruction of Jivahood mean? What does Jivahood mean basically? Who's the Jiva? Jiva is the individual soul who is identified with a particular body and mind. And so who thinks he's the doer of action, he's the knower, he's the experiencer. So that is the Jiva, the individualized soul identified with one particular body and mind. Now, destruction of Jivahood, destruction of this individuality. So this shocks many people. And why does Vedanta speak of this? The only thing that they are trying to tell us is you are transforming your consciousness so as to gain knowledge of your true nature. So you just surpass, or in a sense transcend this limited personality so that you are introduced to your true being, which is the Atman. So this is what is meant. It is not exactly a destruction of some individuality, because your sense of individuality, if you scrutinize it and see, there is no destroying it because it is never there. It was an assumed something. Think and see if this is true or not. We add on upadhis and we assume that our personality is of a particular type and we function accordingly. At any point of time in your life, you can change your personal traits, the traits of your personality. That which means it is a fluid something. It is changeable. It's not permanent. So it's not absolute. It's not the real you. But then when we talk of destruction of individuality, so why should there be fear? So according to Vedanta, it is just a reintroduction to your true being, your real nature. That is what is meant. And that comes about by a transformation of our consciousness. So this is being told in this, in the 45th verse, which we will go into. But just to give you a glimpse of it, concepts like these, they can only be absorbed very well, not as an abstract idea, but as a living reality in the lives of people who have realized this. The great masters of many spiritual traditions, they will give us a glimpse into this state where they are so happy about the destruction of the small individuality and where they are just flourishing and blissful, getting reintroduced to their real selves. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, it is there in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna also, Amar Amita Khuje Paina. I am not able to find my I. This I which is transactional, which is something which with which we are functioning in this world. Check and see, this is the experience of all of us actually. If you just scrutinize your everyday experience, the I is not something stationary and fixed. It is constantly changing. You play so many roles. So that is why he would say, Amar Amita Khuje Paina. And he would also say, Ami Khuste Giye Tini Eshe Poden. Means when I try to find my I find him, I find Brahman, I find God. The real I is not different from God. Because the same consciousness which is shining in you as the Atman, that very same consciousness is what we are calling Parabrahman. In its most expansive, extended form, it is Brahman himself, Brahman itself. So, when we talk of individuality or giving up of individuality, the concept should be very clear in our minds. Self-knowledge gives us this clarity. When you penetrate deep into your own being, you understand clearly how assumed and superimposed our sense of personality is. If we make personality a fixed something, and well, we are functioning due to an assumed fixed something, then we will have a lot of trouble. Isn't this true? Check in your own life and see. If I assume myself to be a fixed entity, just like this, and with very strong boundaries and likes and dislikes, I will find it difficult to adjust anywhere, and anybody will find it difficult to adjust with me. So our sense of individuality has to be investigated and taken back to its source and identified with that source. If all these are not procedures that you bring about through thinking, but through meditation. In meditation, you can clearly feel who you truly are and obviously what you are not. And then this identification with our false personality and true identification with our real nature naturally occurs. It is not a matter for great effort. It will naturally happen. You just awaken yourself to your true being. That is all. The great disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, you can see this so clearly in their lives. Their sense of individuality was all wiped out. You know, Raja Maharaj, Swami Brahmananda, about whose teachings we were discussing in the last class, he would not even remember his name. Somebody had to remind him. And their sense of this personality or individuality is jhapsa, it's hazy. Only the real being is shining forth. Mahapurush Maharaj, who was Swami Shivananda, the second president of the Ramakrishna order, he was a wonderful spiritual personality. You know, let me tell you this incident just to help us understand the next verse. When Mahapurush Maharaj, Swami Shivananda, became the president of the order, on Guru Purnima, a whole lot of disciples would come to Belur Math to pay their obeisance to the Guru, to bow down to him. So it happened that in one Guru Purnima, there was a huge line of devotees who had come to touch his feet. And as they entered his room and bowed down to him, Mahapurush Maharaj in turn bent and bowed down to each one of them. So the Sevak saw this, that he is also bowing down to them, and he said, Maharaj, why are you doing this? They are bowing down to the Guru, but you are bending your back again and again. Please don't do it. He was quite old also at that time, Swami Shivananda. So do you know the answer he gave? He said, Swami Shivananda said, well, do you know why I am bowing down? It is because I see it is all Brahman. I see only a mass of consciousness and indistinct lines which you call forms. See, there are not even distinct forms in his vision. Just a mass of consciousness coming in front of me, so I'm going down. So this is the perception of a man of God. He sees Brahman, he sees reality as it is. We see only the name and form because we are bound in the name and in a form. This is the difference. This was his own natural perception, and so he was so humble, always bowing down to everyone. You must read the book for seekers of God. It's so striking, beautiful book with so many wonderful ideas about spiritual life, practical spiritual life. So all this comes from the direct perception of Brahman by these great masters. Raman Maharshi, he would say, I don't know what name to sign. How can I am not identified with any name. Once somebody pestered him for an autograph. Just imagine pestering a jnani for an autograph. So he was quite puzzled. Now he would say, I don't know in what name I should sign. Usually he would sign Om, not his name. And on this day, when a devotee was repeatedly telling him, please sign your name. Then he wrote a beautiful couplet. He took the pencil and wrote a beautiful couplet. It goes like this. Ekamaksharam hridi nirantaram bhasate swayam likhyate katham. One word is eternally shining bright in my heart, perpetually shining, self-luminous. Bhasate swayam, luminous in itself. How do I put it down on paper? One luminous consciousness, this akshar means this, that word which is imperishable. Akshar means that which does not perish, the supreme truth. It is ever shining in my heart. How do I give it a name? How can I put it down on paper? So you see, this is what is being meant in this next verse. Destruction of individuality means complete transformation of consciousness so that you are identified as something else to yourself. You are identified as the core truth about yourself. So naturally you have put your personality a little distant from yourself, what you call personality. Because once we discussed, personality itself means a mask you are wearing. So you can put the mask down when you are yourself. When you need to be somebody else, you have to put on a mask. But to be yourself, do you need to put on a mask? You can put everything down. So this is the idea being conveyed. Please go to verse number 45. Sthanau purushavad bhrantya krita brahmani jivata jivasya tatvike rupe tasmin drishte nivartate. Brahman appears to be a jiva through ignorance, as the stump of a tree appears to be a man. This jivahood is destroyed when the real nature of the jiva is realized. See, this is the meaning. Through ignorance, you identified yourself with something else, with a particular body-mind complex. When the ignorance is destroyed, don't just focus on the destruction of ignorance. As a result of the destruction of ignorance, what is happening? You awaken to your true nature. And that is what is to be seen. And that is why the destruction of individuality is talked about in Vedanta. See, this is such a tremendous something. You will not find too much of this in other scriptures. It is polishing and refining your personality that they speak of. But Vedanta, right from the beginning, it is the stark truth about the human being. That is what Advaita Vedanta actually is. It is the bare truth about you. So it will strip you of all individuality, all sense of personality, to show you who you truly are. And that is why this is a very powerful verse actually. And the destruction of individuality and awakening to our real nature is the very aim of Vedanta. So they will just say it just like that without any hesitation. That this is to be done and this is to be arrived at. No niceties here. It's the stark truth about you. Now, next we go into verse number 46. Because there's a lot to discuss here. Tat swarupanu bhavat utpannam jnana manjasa aham mameti cha jnanam badhate dig brahmadivat. The knowledge produced by the realization of the true nature of reality destroys immediately the ignorance characterized by notions of I and mine as the sun, the mistake regarding one's direction. The sun corrects our sense of direction, isn't it? So also the sun of reality corrects our mistaken notions of I and mine by identifying ourselves truly as we are and not identifying us with our projections, with our assumptions. So this understanding, this knowledge immediately converts you into a man of enlightenment, a person of complete knowledge. And at the end of one's prarabdha karma, complete enlightenment is got, what is called videha mukti. So this is how it is seen in Vedanta. But there is also the concept of jivan mukti, which means if there is complete enlightenment, even when you are in the body, you can attain the state of jivan mukti. You are liberated while living. But a heavy weight of prarabdha behind you, and gradually you go into mukti. Although a level of realization and enlightenment has already happened. So the thing is, realization is the main thing. How to awaken into reality. And the wonderful thing about Vedanta is it is only telling about something which is ever present, never absent. So this process of realization, which is the focus of all texts like these, like Atmabodha, this is very well commented upon again by Swami Brahmananda. I want to take you again a bit into that, because I told you it is easy to understand the scriptures and the profound meaning of these texts when you look at the life of a master. It is the best explanation to these verses. Swami Brahmananda was such a great spiritual master. He would perpetually live, even with his eyes open, he would live in a state of samadhi. He would appear to be staring somewhere. He is not staring anywhere. His mind is so withdrawn deep within that he appears to be inert on the outside, but complete luminosity within. And his words, they are the most powerful, profound words for sadhaks. They are really a treasure. Last time I told you the book Eternal Companion by Swami Brahmananda. Please also read his life, the big voluminous life of Swami Brahmananda that is available, because there you will find wonderful, inspiring incidents about great spirituality and the spiritual mind, about sadhana, about how to dive within. Everything is there. So Swami Brahmananda used to say, he says it at one place in that book, which covers his biography actually. He says, you know, spiritual life actually begins only with the nirvikalpa state. Please observe this, what he is saying. Spiritual life begins with the nirvikalpa state, which means as long as there are vikalpas, thoughts, visheshana kalpita iti vikalpa, as long as there are these waves of vrittis arising in our minds, you will not encounter reality as it is. You will be affected by those waves. Until then, it is all imagination, he says. Until the mind is completely free of vikalpas, thoughts, and not just the stormy thoughts, all thoughts, you don't encounter reality as it is. Until then, everything is colored by those thoughts. So he says that the nature of God, the nature of reality cannot be known until the mind is brought to the nirvikalpa state. Let me read out his own words because they are very powerful. Only when the mind attains to nirvikalpa, then Shuddha Jnana is revealed. That knowledge is all blissful. In that Satchidananda, that pure awareness, one has a vision of one's Ishtam according to one's bhav. Without the mind becoming bereft of vikalpas, the nature of God cannot be known. Before the vikalpa free state, everything is only imagination. Only when the buddhi renounces all its upadhis, which are again imagination, then it is found to be identical with awareness. The boundaries of the buddhi are the upadhis. As soon as they are removed, Satchidananda fills up or shines forth, as it were. See, this very higher intellect, what is called the buddhi, it is bound by our upadhis, the limiting agents we have given ourselves, our sense of personality, our sense of individuality, which we take pride in even, we take pride in our bondage. The buddhi is limited by these. So until those limitations are removed, the buddhi will function only to protect this small sense of individuality. Once you remove these boundaries for the buddhi, it will be found to be nothing but pure awareness, he says. This is why Sri Ramakrishna said, pure mind, pure buddhi, pure Atman are one and the same thing. Then further he gives a marvelous connection. He says, you remember that story of Sri Ramakrishna, where Sri Ramakrishna used to give, not a story, it's a illustration, you can say, an allusion to Indian farming practices, which he used to give an example. where he says, in India, this is Sri Ramakrishna saying, in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna also you will find, in India, farmers, in order to bring water into their fields, what do? With great difficulty, they bring water to irrigate their fields. Usually paddy fields require a lot of water. So they bring water into the field and then they put ridges all around the field so that the water does not flow out. These ridges, Aldeva. So if these ridges are there, the water is retained in that field. Now, Swami Brahmananda says, you see, all bhangle jal apni shekhane diye dhoke. Sri Ramakrishna made this statement that as soon as these ridges are broken, what happens? The water all around, in the surrounding fields also, it will come into that field. As soon as the boundaries of your buddhi are broken, awareness will fill up your mind. Then you cannot even say awareness fills up your mind. Awareness is all that there is. Your mind is another concept in that awareness. Is mind in awareness or awareness in mind? Mind is in your awareness. That anubhuti, that experience comes by itself. So all that is required as sadhana is to break the boundaries of our functioning intellect, which is the final point of your mind. It is the cream of your mind, you can say, your intellect, your intelligence. If that is without boundaries, if it functions at the optimum level, it will self-expand into its true nature, which is pure awareness. See if this is true or not. This is the actual truth of spiritual life. As long as we are content to function within boundaries, our knowledge also will remain bound. It's small knowledge. I don't know too much about myself. I don't even know the depths of my mind. But when I can give up this of my own accord, give up what? Not give up the world, not run away somewhere. Give up my upadhis, the limiting agents I have superimposed on myself, my ego, everything of me which is not real. Once I can give up these, you will naturally go into the state of pure awareness. This very buddhi will become that, he says. At another place in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, with the same example, Sri Ramakrishna says, with so much effort, the farmers bring water into their fields. And first they bring water into the fields, then they put up those ridges and make sure that the water is retained there. But many of these ridges, they have holes, maybe due to field rats or whatever. And the water goes out through these holes, and so the field remains dry. Sri Ramakrishna says this. What is the meaning of this? The holes of our desires, they can remove this water. So the field does not get irrigated. These holes are nothing but our desires. As long as there is desire in the mind, the ridges will not be in place. So the water is not retained. That is why the field is not irrigated. Sri Ramakrishna says this. So, little here we will stop a bit and go into how exactly it works in our psychology. I want to give you some ideas from yoga psychology here, because this is very important for the sadhak mind, for the person who is doing sadhana. This is very important knowledge. Why is it that even with considerable striving, I am not able to reach this goal? Where am I falling short? So the picture is now quite clear to us. What we need to give up. How is sadhana to be practiced? Now we will go a little into what are these holes which remove water from our field. We will go a bit into this. So these are nothing but our bad sanskars. Desires are of the nature. You see, whatever is happening in your mind, the root cause is a sanskar somewhere. Sanskar is something we have already studied. It is a strong tendency and a strong impression in your mind, which gives rise to a tendency in your conscious mind. So these are very deep rooted. They are in your subconscious, in your unconscious. There are so many sanskars. So these are the cause for all sorts of reactions in our conscious mind. These impressions are the root cause for all the reactions in our conscious mind. So unless these seeds are removed, our mind will remain busy with everything unspiritual, in action and reaction and all sorts of emotions and all sorts of thoughts, desires, clouding, cluttering the mind. So that then all this becomes theory, awareness, buddhi, becoming boundless is pure awareness. All this will become a perfect theory. When the mind is over-cluttered, no spirituality is possible. That is why first work on your sanskars and clear your mind. Sadhana is meant to do this only. Purification of mind means this, bringing it to its original clarity. So that the mental field is clear. Awareness will come in by itself, as Sri Ramakrishna says. You see, this is the thing we have to remember. Aar bhangle jol aapni shekhane giyen hoke. Awareness is a consequence of a pure mind. Pure awareness naturally fills the mind if it is maintained like that. But so all the sadhana is meant to clear the mind, to bring it into a state of extreme clarification, purity, what we say, so that the truth shines forth there. Intuition is natural to that mind. So for this, we have to understand this theory of sanskars which yoga psychology gives us, so that practically we can work on our mind. What does yoga psychology tell us about? You see, this is where yoga is useful. Why is it that I always bring yoga into Vedanta? For the simple reason that to attain the knowledge of Vedanta and keep it steady, you need to overcome your mind completely. And for that, you will require the complete knowledge of the mind. All that yoga has to give us, there is tremendous knowledge in yoga psychology. So use that. You are using the knowledge of the mind to transcend the mind. If you don't know these concepts, you don't know how to struggle. We can struggle in very wrong ways, and finally end nowhere. So they are giving us this knowledge of sanskars. How is it that sanskars are created? We already know through the conscious mind, whatever you think goes into your subconscious and becomes sanskars. Now, over lifetimes, we have taken in so many impressions. That is why we have such an overcluttered mind. Constantly, it is throwing out a whole lot of thoughts, emotions, even things you don't want to know, don't want to see, even all that can keep popping up. And our tremendous reactions, compulsiveness, impulsiveness, all of this is due to deep-rooted sanskars, impressions and tendencies. So, what are they? Now, in yoga psychology, they are put into 6 groups. You see, they are called klesha sanskars, karmashay, nirod sanskars, bhog sanskars, vidya sanskars, and the spiritual sanskars of prajna and bhakti. Now, one by one, a little bit we will try to get some knowledge of this. Klesh sanskars, kleshas are something I think we have discussed in some class. It is, kleshas are a group of sanskars, you can say, which give rise to klishta vrittis. Once you have that sanskar in you, the thoughts in your mind will be affected by those sanskars. The klesha sanskars include avidya, rag, dvesh, bhai, abhinivesh, all these. All are negative emotions, you can say, and ignorance is all bundled into klesha sanskars. So they give rise to klishta vrittis, afflictions, you can say, a deeply afflicted mind, which feels no good. You want to get out of your mind. When people are planning getaways, they are actually trying to get out of their minds. fed up with the mind. It's constantly doing something which you don't like, which you don't want, not listening to you, and deeply afflicted, sorrowful. Unless there is some entertainment going on around you, it doesn't even feel good. That's a very sorry state, isn't it, to be in? That something on the external should run me, should keep me peaceful and happy. So it's a kind of refined slavery. To overcome this, Klesh Sanskars have to be understood. What are these deep afflictions in me? Why is my mood sorrowful? When you were little children, when all of us were little children, how buoyant and so much of joy was there in life, isn't it? You were excited about everything. But that is not the state now. So why is this happening? Because we have not worked on our minds. This is the whole problem. So this Klesh Sanskars make sure we stay in a woeful, complaining state of low emotional energy. You know, the tendency of these Sanskars is they will make you feel morose, melancholy they will generate. They will make you blame and complain the outside, usually the people around you. They will give you negative emotions and fear, anxiety. So you see, these are all the roots of all these are in this Klesh Sanskars deep within us. Then the next set of Sanskars they are classified under Karmashay, which is nothing but the net cosmic effect of your entire karma. Whatever actions you have performed in the past, good, bad, everything is stopped. The effect of that. And it comes to you in different forms. It comes to you as almost like Newton's third law of motion. There is, for every action, there is going to be an equal and opposite reaction. And also there's a cosmic effect. Means after some time it can come and descend on you. So this is what is called Karmashay. Any action you have performed, it will have its effect on you. The fruit will come at some time or the other. So this also is creating your sanskar backpack, you can say. This stored up Karmashay. It will fructify at any given point of time and you won't even know, why is my mind behaving like this? So this is another cause for your mental activity. And then Nirodha Sanskars are there, which means those Sanskars which control other Sanskars. See, this also we have experienced. Sometimes, you know, the deep-rooted fears of a variety of things. You can see this in teenagers. Some deep-rooted fear of not being accepted by a friend will generate a particular behavior. Doesn't this happen? So Nirodha Sanskars are like that. You are controlling one Sanskar through another Sanskar. Maybe your deep feeling for spirituality, spiritual practice is controlling a whole lot of Sanskars which wanted to just become vrittis in your mind. So a sense of control has come there. So Nirodha means basically control. The Sanskars of control. So these are to be cultivated. And then there are Bhog Sanskars. The Sanskars which are to do with experiences. Obviously everybody wants only pleasant experiences. So pleasure seeking. Usually Bhog means seeking pleasure. So these are the Sanskars which dominate a person's mind because constantly if you see, we are trying to move towards that which gives us joy and pleasure and to move away from that which gives us sorrow. So these are another group of Sanskars constantly working in our minds, generating our vrittis from within. Then there are Vidhya Sanskars. Everything that you have read, known, assimilated, all that is in the form of knowledge. The vrittis of knowledge, it exists in your mind. And these are useful also because if you remain engaged in high level knowledge, you will keep away from wrong tendencies and simple pleasure seeking, all this. If the mind is engaged in deep level study, naturally you remain in a pure state of mind. So Vidhya Sanskars are to be cultivated again. And then there are the spiritual sanskars of prajna and bhakti. These are absolutely to be cultivated. Prajna is higher awareness. Bhakti is devotion. If these sanskars are there, any negative sanskar can easily be controlled. The unspiritual worldly sanskars can easily be controlled. So these are to be cultivated through spiritual practice. So you see, we have a whole huge category of so many types of sanskars. And all of these are right there in our subconscious, throwing up vrittis, all sorts of vrittis constantly. That's why our mind it remains busy. Even when you try to still the mind, how long can you do it? 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds? After that, it's busy. It's all due to our sanskars. Vivekananda used to say, the sanskar bundle is the man. Your character is nothing but a bundle of your sanskars. So, your character is not merely your behavior. It is what you are from within. What is there in your conscious and subconscious mind. That is what you truly are. So you see, this entire thing has to be now changed and purified. How? Through spiritual practice. That is why spiritual practice is something we should never leave. Even after realization, you will find in the lives of these masters, they did not leave spiritual practice. I don't mean by spiritual practice just sitting. That is one important practice, no doubt. But at all times, keeping your mind at a higher level, keeping it in God, remaining in the state of devotion, higher awareness. This has to be done. Meditation is meant for this, to keep constant connection with God. This will gradually change our sanskars for the better. Once you generate high-level prajna and bhakti sanskars, the rest of the sanskars will naturally come under control. And you know, there are various, in yoga psychology, it's very interesting, various stages of manifestation of these sanskars are also described, which is very interesting. Every sanskar is manifest in different stages. Like, for example, see, you will be interested, just briefly I will tell you. They give the common example of a tiger in a zoo. Sometimes the tiger is resting, and so when it finishes its rest and it's in full ferocity, it has woken up. That is one stage. So you see, when it is dormant, the sanskar, it is called prasupta sanskar. When it is fully manifested, it is called udara sanskar. When it is a state of one emotion controlling another, it is called vichinna sanskar. As I told you, sometimes fear controls one particular behavior. So this is a state of one sanskar controlling another sanskar. Then the stage of tanu sanskar, which means weakened sanskar, weak and unmanifest. You were very angry, but you controlled it and brought the sanskar to the tanu state. So that now you do not express that level, you don't manifest that level of anger in your behavior. So this is bringing the anger sanskar to the tanu state. Through spiritual practice, all this can be done. Through self-control, all this can be brought about. Then niruddha, which means completely controlled level of existence. Complete control of mind, control of all sanskars. In Bhagavad Gita, it is very beautifully put. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Which means things can keep away. I am just putting it very plainly. You can keep away from things, sense objects for example. But the taste for them may not go. It will only go when you see the ultimate. When you are enlightened, you may just keep away from them, but the hankering, the desire can be there within yourself. So the way to purification is to completely purify. Even if there's a bit of all this, it is difficult to bring the mind to the level of clarity that is expected in Vedanta. Then there is the Dagdha Bejas. avastha, which means where the sanskar has been burnt out, as it were. The seed of sanskar has been burnt away and it has become ungerminating. It cannot produce vrittis anymore. So all these bhog sanskars are to be reduced to this level so that they don't trouble you. See, if the mind is not left, if it is not trained to do this, it can go into very bizarre ways. There is, actually speaking, there is no limit to desire. And desire can never satisfy itself. It can never be quenched by fulfilling a desire, isn't it? Check and see in your own lives. If you fulfill one desire, it will take another form after some time. But desire is endless. Nothing can quench it. So understanding this, we must take up techniques to overcome desire. This maturity is primary to spiritual life. There was a great sadhu and somebody complained to him that desires are such a wretched thing. That is why there must be control at all levels in society. And any kind of freedom of speech, of movement, of action, everything, if it's under control, then our minds will be fine. And then the saint said, you only need to control your mind. Go into tapasya and make sure you are purged of desires. And everything will be fine. So you can't change the external. If we are attempting to do that, well, at some point we must understand this. The whole idea is to change our minds, to change the sanskar makeup of our minds. And the external will gradually change. You will have the power to change the external gradually by cleaning up your own mind. You can see this even in the family. The mother being ultra idealistic and very pious, she has a tremendous impact then on the children also. Introducing some of these concepts into your homes. See, this is something I always tell devotees. The essential part of your service to society, that you bring up your children with good sanskars. Deliberately, consciously, giving it on an everyday basis, doing things which will bring this about. This is so very necessary. It's your essential contribution to society. Don't back away from it. Don't say they don't listen to me. Still, it has to be done somehow. So this is just an introduction to the sadhana we have to undergo. Why is spiritual practice necessary? Because spiritual realization is a matter of insight which happens just in the twinkling of an eye, as Vivekananda put it. It happens just like that. But to come to that point of realization, of supreme intuition, all this purification is required. That is why yoga, that is why the practice of meditation, spiritual practice, intensity of vitality, focused in one particular direction. This is very important. Many people, in the name of spiritual practice, they become very namby-pamby, very mild. This is not about that. You awaken your entire vitality, but keep it focused in the upper direction, in the spiritual direction. This is what purification is about. And it is possible to do this because a whole great tradition of masters before us have done it. So it is not an impossibility at all. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, eons of darkness can be removed from a room by just lighting a spark of light. Lighting one matchstick. Thousands of years of darkness which filled a room can be removed. So there is infinite hope in spiritual life. Place the Lord in your heart and it will get illumined. Nothing more is required. Place the Lord in your heart day and night. Knowing the nature of worldly existence, all the more you must plunge into devotion and prajna, awareness. So with this, let's go into verse number 47. Yes, we have 5 minutes and then we'll go to Q&A. Samyak Vijnanavan Yogi Swatmanyeva Khilam Jagat Ekam Cha Sarvam Atmanam Ikshate Jnana Chakshusha. The yogi endowed with complete enlightenment sees through the eye of knowledge the entire universe in his own self and regards everything as the self and nothing else. See, this idea we have discussed repeatedly. What you know yourself to be, you are going to see the person in front of you exactly according to that. If you are only body conscious, you will see the other person only as body. If you are mind conscious, you will see the other person as mind. If you are deeply, if you have awakened to the spirit, to pure being within you, that is what you are going to see in everyone. One of the classic examples of this state is our Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi. There are so many incidents in her life which show this state. Sarva bhutastamatmanam sarva bhutani chakmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. Bhagavad Gita says this. He who sees all beings in himself and himself in all beings, he is the highest yogi. And so he is samadarshana. He is this equanimity of vision. In Sri Sharda Devi's life, see, she appeared so simple, so unassuming, and she appeared like a village woman. But this deep inner spiritual realization brought her to this level, and so early in life also. I was tomorrow there's a talk on Holy Mother, which those of you who are interested can attend. Nanakji will send you the link. It's on the message of Holy Mother. So if you wish, you can attend tomorrow. So I was studying Mother's life for that, and there I saw, see, when Mother was still so young in Nahabat, she may be in her early 20s or even before that, maybe 18, 19 years it could be. So that time Mother would make beetle rolls for the master and also for all the devotees who would come there. So this incident is something really interesting. When she would make those beetle rolls, pan what is called, she would sometimes put special ingredients into some of the rolls, like cardamom and elaichi and all that. So then somebody asked her that, Mother, why you are making two sets of rolls, one ordinary and one special type? So she said, you see, this ordinary type is for the master. The special type is for the new devotees who are coming here, because you see, first time they are coming, I have to make them my own. I have to serve them, look after their needs, and that they like this place, they like this ambience. So I am putting some special ingredients in them, and this is for the master, he is already my own. So I don't have to do anything special. See, this feeling in this young girl that I have to make the whole world my own. How does this come? Why should she feel like this? Any young wife will want to give the best to the husband, isn't it? But these were Mother's words. Think and say, I have to make everyone my own. Whoever comes here should become the master's own. This was Mother. This is you can say, the mind of a goddess. So many such incidents in Mother's life. You see, if that inner anubhuti is there, this all-inclusive outlook will be there. You have a heart, a place for everyone. You are able to accept everyone. When first time Nivedita came to India as Miss Margaret Noble, and along with her were Josephine MacLeod and Sarah Bull, and Swamiji took them to meet Mother. Everybody was a little apprehensive because Mother was very orthodox in her ways, and she came from a community which was very orthodox. The people around her also were like that, so she was like that. But you know, with open arms, Mother embraced them. And as soon as she saw Nivedita, she said, my cookie, my daughter. So this comes only with this drishti. You are not seeing the surface, you are seeing the inner stuff of every person. And that's the same as you. So and complete acceptance of everyone. That is why she is the universal mother. So you see, all these ideas, they are not theoretical, or they are not merely to be understood logically. In the lives of these masters, they were natural facts, and that is how we should study them. Let us stop it here and go into the Q&A. We have 3 questions. So let's just go into that. In relation to a question concerning 4 yogas, you said that every human starts from where he or she stands, and every human has 3 faculties of intellect, will, and feeling, and depending on which one is dominant, a person pursues the particular yoga. I'll just condense it. So, how do we judge where we stand? So you can know where you stand exactly by 2 factors. One is what is called Vyakulata, the intensity you feel about any particular path. Do you feel a yearning deep in your heart to follow that path? Like, for example, Sri Ramakrishna himself used to say that one who has an element of Vishnu will feel deeply drawn towards bhakti. One who has an element of Shiva will deeply be drawn towards Shiva, yoga, knowledge, all this. But remember, the 2 are connected. It's not that. Actually, what Sri Ramakrishna said was, whoever has an element of Vishnu will naturally feel drawn towards Vishnu. Whoever has an element of Shiva will naturally feel drawn towards Shiva. That trait, that tendency will naturally be there. So the thing is, you see what you are feeling drawn towards spontaneously. Your Vyakulata is for what? Secondly, the capacity for sustained sadhana along one particular path. Is this a possibility with you, with the path you have taken up? Then it is your path. Otherwise, it's borrowed from somebody. Please don't borrow paths. You must find your own path, because you are seeking your own goal. Spirituality is an original search. It's an original research. So know what you want and then take up a path which naturally appeals to your heart and mind. And you will find your path. So this is how it is most natural to you. It is stable in your life. It is most sustainable in your life, which means you are able to stick to it. So this is how you can know which path to take and where you stand. The second question is, you mentioned in your lecture that there is no common factor in between body, mind and I. But in my normal perception, what is the I apart from body and mind? Yes. No matter how much we try to inquire about the I, it seems we are holding on to some perception which is after all a thought. Can you explain? It's a very good question. So yes, in normal perception, it appears like body and mind is I, because that's how we are used to thinking. But please see, your thought, it's another thought. And a thought is a path, it is not a destination. It is a path which you have ushered yourself into, because we have been taught you are this much only, you are your personality. So I think I have assumed completely, I'm sure that I'm only this body and mind. But, so you see, the thought, any thought is, you can take it as a path, it's not a destination. But thinking of consciousness actually will help you unfold consciousness within. Always, how are you perceiving body and mind? You are perceiving it only as an object of your perception, isn't it? Do you perceive body and mind in any other way? Even when you look at yourself into the mirror, it is an object of your perception, what you are seeing. So then you are apart from it, obviously. Now, who is apart from it? That is to be tracked. Your awareness is always apart from the body-mind complex. That is why I said body, mind, and the true I sense have no connection. Think deeply and see if this is true or not. Then to become established in this, spiritual practice is required. Instead of thinking merely about body and mind, that is why use Vedanta and think about pure consciousness. It will unfold pure consciousness within you. Thought can be used like that. Thought is a path to the goal, but not the goal. It will take you to the goal. This is what I meant. Then the third is, in pointers on verse 43, you said the mind and body houses the self. Is it not that the mind and body appear in the self? Yes, that's true. Mind and body appear in the self. Apparently it appears like the self is housed in this, because when I say I point here, and then I imagine a point of light in my heart during my meditation. All this we do for this, to bring us to this final understanding that it is all in my awareness. Body, mind, everything is perceived only in your awareness, please see, and not apart from it. Things are outside. Are they outside your awareness or in your awareness? Please tell me. Anything, any object. Now these spectacles, where is it? It's outside my body, outside my skin, but not outside my awareness. Isn't it? So everything is in your awareness. It is indubitably linked to your awareness. In fact, it is nothing apart from your awareness. Without your awareness, you can never know what it is. Once I heard there was I don't know how true this is, there was this argument between Einstein and Tagore, where Einstein said, well, I do not believe the moon does not exist when I am not there. Just now I am seeing the moon and appreciating it, but if I am not here, the moon will continue to exist. And somebody put the question, I think Tagore only put the question, how do you know? If you are not there, you will never know. Your awareness is responsible for your knowledge. And everything that is only perceptible in your awareness. So anything I try to posit apart from my awareness, I can never know. It's not, in the first person you can never know. I'm not talking of the third person perspective. So your awareness, everything is interlinked, intermixed with your awareness. In fact, it is nothing apart from your awareness. Knowing this, you must understand the self like this. So this model, which is usually said that we are Atma, Atma is within this system, it's in your heart. All this is okay for children. But as our understanding grows with sadhana, you see, understanding does not necessarily grow with age, but it always grows with sadhana. So with sadhana, we come to this understanding that everything is in my awareness. Awareness is primary and fundamental. And anything else I posit, it is due to the presence of that awareness. So it can never be apart from that awareness. When two things are not apart from each other, they are not two different things, but one thing in two different forms. That's why we say this is a huge logic in philosophy. I don't know if you have studied this. In Vedanta, it is used extensively as in explaining intrinsic existence. Existence and consciousness belongs only to the Atman, because Atman, pure awareness, is required to posit the existence of anything else. It can never remain apart from your awareness, and that is why it is not separate from your awareness. It is your awareness in another form, you can say. So that is why there is nothing apart from the Atman. That's why statements like these are made to help us understand the fundamental nature of existence. See, for long enough we have ignored the self. Our entire civilization, the march of civilization, has been towards the external world, towards refining our senses, maybe even refining our mental abilities, but not in turning towards the self. So now maybe it's time Because Vivekananda used to say the Satya Yuga has dawned, the age where spirituality will come to the forefront. That has come when we should understand the primacy of consciousness in our experience of life. If we understand this much, we will automatically become spiritual. Because spirituality is not about ritual, it is not about belief systems, it is not about any particular practice, it is about unfolding the truth of your being. And who would not want to do that? Once the conviction comes into us that my real nature is consciousness, all you will aim at is to express your true being more perfectly in life. That is what you call love, that is what you call achievement, that is what you call art, science, everything. You are expressing the inner divinity in so many ways. So, arriving at this understanding that consciousness is primary factor in my experience and I must have a thorough knowledge of it. This is spirituality. So, I think time is up. Let's stop here for today. I'll end with a prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashyet Dukha Bhaga Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.